Okay, thank you very much. So this talk is not going to be technical, right? I don't know if you caught me this morning, but basically I've been working with the NBTC, or the Thai equivalent with the FCC. And one thing that I have been thinking a lot about is disinformation, fake news, phishing campaigns, because as you know, Thailand has a huge problem with the scam call centers, right? And other attempts to phish, fraud, just many types of criminal activities around basically tricking people into websites and making them do things that is against their interest. So this is these slides, you can say, is a test as to how to communicate a solution to government in order for them to consider that maybe putting all government communications on centralized social media that does not actually have the country's best interests at heart is a bad idea. All right, so a bit about me. 30 years of experience in tech, recovering InfoSec practitioner, long-time residence on the Fediverse, involved in government IT projects, and presently working on AI projects. So question number one, how many people here know what Fediverse is? Okay, good. How many people are on the Fediverse? Okay. Well, I hope I will be able to get a few more hands up next time. So what is the Fediverse, right? The Fediverse is, sorry, that's a few slides down. I get ahead of myself. All right. So first of all, we have an issue, right? As I touched upon this earlier. We have rampant fake news and digital impersonation, especially of government service providers, right? And I will show you something in a moment. It causes a lot of public confusion, right? For example, someone will file a complaint against certain organization, and that organization would say, we had absolutely nothing to do with it. That was absolutely not us. We did not ask for that money from you. And it's incredibly good. For example, my mother, through the information of some website, sorry, my mother was a different scam. My friend's mother, that was the one, through looking up information on the Facebook page, got connected through a video call to someone in a full police uniform, trying to convince her to pay him to make the problem go away, right? And last minute she realized that, hang on, this can't be real, thankfully. But you know, it is a real problem, right? What happens when you cannot authenticate the person? And you know, recent examples, phishing scams, etc., etc. So this was kind of funny. Well, sort of. So back in 2023, someone created a fake Twitter account of the Chicago Department of Transport, Illinois Department of Transport, informing people about road closures. That created complete chaos because well, people kept forwarding, well, first of all, people believed it. Then people took screen capture and continued forwarding it long after the information has disappeared, right, from the original website. During COVID, right, in times of crisis, there were a whole bunch of these websites up that ask you to enter all your information so you can get COVID tests, vaccines, relief, etc., etc. Huge problem. Thailand, we had the Thai government official infographic telling people that this is the genuine page of the government, right? Now the question is, how do you know if the infographics is real? it is a problem, right? And especially if you're not sort of trained this, right? So which one of the above page is the real one to receive your 10,000 baht government handout scheme, right? Again, by the Anti-Fake News Center Thailand, right? This is a problem, right? From a user experience perspective, UI perspective, I mean, how are you supposed to, how is a regular person supposed to know which is the real place to get information about your handout, especially if your entire life is, or your entire online experience is centered around Facebook, right? Or one of the major social medias, right? So now the way that I propose that we solve this problem is that the citizens need a single verifiable source of truth. There should be a page, like we have government websites, right, where you go to and this is the single source of truth. However, the Thai government websites often contain profile of the minister and the senior civil servants and all the ribbons they've cut recently. Not so much the actual information that the useful information which they post on Facebook and other social medias, right? So we have a problem with that. We have the problem with sovereignty. So for example, if there is an emergency announcement and the algorithms decide that that should not go out, what happens? Right, it is a issue. Misinformation undermines public confidence and stability because of the rampant fake news, right? Officers getting accused. I mean, of course, they're not perfect, but it doesn't help to actually attribute to them malice which they are not responsible for. So the Fediverse. The Fediverse is a decentralized network of interconnected platforms. It's like how we use email, how we use the World Wide Web, right, HTTP. So the Fediverse is a set of protocols and they can interoperable, right, and it is entirely open standards. So there's no single point of control, and I think that it's more comparable to email than anything else because you can follow people, right, but then you can also interact with people, put in comments, etc., etc. And it supports a whole bunch of different type of content. So from microblogs, videos, book reviews, photo sharings, basically anything that you can imagine, you can implement on the, anything social you can imagine, you can enable using the Fediverse, the set of protocols that form the Fediverse, which is very cool. Sorry, double slide. So what this actually enables, and which is what I propose to the Thai government, is that they should have a post one syndicate everywhere policy, which means that there should be a central line. For example, there should be a fediverse.go.th or information.go.th and there should be a standardized naming scheme for all the Thai government offices, and they should all be forced to post in this place all their news before they post anywhere else. Because in the very least, people should be able to, in the very least savvy people, those are like, if my mother asks me, right, is this for real? I don't want to have to sift through Facebook and try to do forensics on the background image to see if this is a genuine Facebook page of the department, right? There should be a place that I can go to just instantly in order to check that, okay, this is a genuine information that has been posted, right? It should be verifiable. So why we're doing this? One is sovereignty, right? If it's government announcement, it's usually pretty important, and so it should actually be controlled not by a third party, but then through the user, the consumer, for example, or other mechanisms, but certainly not a third party that doesn't really have skin in the game in all of this. Domain-based verification. So as an example I cited earlier, right? Information.go.th. You go there, everything is there, and there are layers of security with the Fediverse. Yes, we can improve upon it. We can improve upon the ways that information is verifiable, but I think it's still better than what we have earlier. Chronological, non-algorithmic timeline, right? Because sometimes you can imagine a case where an emergency has been announced, but then it has been rescinded, but then one has gone out, the other one has not, right? This is a problem, right? Especially when there's an emergency, so for example, a flood or even a shooter incident or something like that. You want the latest information that's guaranteed. And it should be able to reach multiple platforms. So we have talked about this earlier, fake Twitter accounts, right? So the answer for them is that on their website, they list their official social media channel, right? But it's still kind of confusing, right? /company /Chicago /Chicago's mayor /Major Johnson /Chicago mayor's office. You know, it is confusing, right? This is better, but ideally it should be in one place, and it should be within the control of the entity, of the office, right? But if it's the Fediverse, then it will be @mayor@chicago.gov. Easy. You know that this is the mayor. It's on chicago.gov. The domain is not likely to be hijacked. Pretty safe. And all the other resources can be aggregated here. You know, if they have like a photo blog or a video service, it can all be aggregated into one place, into one official account. Makes it easier to follow, actually, right? Okay, so this is kind of funny. Tang Rat, right, is a registration for the handouts, 10,000 baht handout scheme. The ministry were very proud because they shut down 290 fake pages regarding this, right? Yeah. So the linking to the domains allows for authentication. If there was, for example, tangrat@information.go.th, you know that this is the official information source, right? And all the information is there, and it's certainly better than what we have at the moment, which is trying to figure out what is real and what is fake on Facebook, on X, et cetera, et cetera. So try it now. Search for Tang Rat in Facebook if you have a Snoop device. Try it, everyone. No? No one here has Facebook. Okay, well, there. After 290 has gotten shut down, we still have this, right? And that's a partial list. So scammers be scamming. And what do we do about this? Right? Do we report the page? I mean, that one has 105,000 members. So I don't think that this is actually sustainable, nor the way we should be handling this. I think that the best way to do it is to bring control back to the hands of the information provider and take control of the relationship between the information provider and the information consumers. The other alternative that is worth thinking about is to have something similar to the verified badge system. So official government websites are certified by the centralized social network company, but I feel that that is not a sustainable and long-term solution, right? Because politics can change, circumstances can change, and I think that again, with important information like this, it should be within the hands of the information creator, right? And the entire stack should be. So basically, it should be reliable. We don't want, even in this volatile day, right? Supposing Thailand let's say, suddenly goes on the unfriend list of the entities that own the social media provider, and there's an order down to issue a sanction, or something to that effect. You know, it's getting murkier and murkier, and it's getting riskier as well. So, which is why, lastly, the social media, bringing social media back into our hands is a good idea. So again, it's better than what we have now, right? Using the Fediverse. So real-world examples, there are a few. So this is the bun.de, if I pronounce that right. They have a social media server on Mastodon, right? The overheight for the Netherlands. Pardon? The supervisor. Okay. They have a social media server as well, right? They publish on Mastodon. Right. Amsterdam.nl, I can pronounce that. They also have a Mastodon server. So these are examples of Mastodon servers that have been set up and hosted by various government entities. So my implementation proposal is government control Fediverse compatible servers, right? Standardized naming schemes for government departments. All media to be posted on Fediverse first, and official links that go only to government-run servers. So there should be a penalty, ideally of death, but I think that I'm asking too much here. We can bargain down a bit, but that all official links should go to government servers. This way, at least you can say that safely, that if the link does not contain the official domain, right, it's not official government news, right? It becomes an easy heuristic for people who are not so familiar with it. And the same thing should apply for URL shorteners. I propose that there has to be a standard way of shortening URLs. So lastly, I think that the digital square has to be reclaimed. In the past, I mean, I still remember the days when it was possible to get useful news in chronological order online, right? And I've been using Fediverse for a while now, and I recently went back to Facebook and Twitter to check it out. And with the algorithmic timeline, it's really, really very difficult to make sense of what's happening because the discussions are all jumbled, right? We had actually our experience with Twitter when Thailand got on it. When Thailand got on it in a big way was back in 2010, where we had riots on the streets, right? And it was a place where you could share information, you could exchange information with each other, find out where the safe places is, figure out whether is the government really going to cut electricity supply to the neighborhood or not, what supplies are being sent, has a shooting started. You know, this was all very useful information. It was done in chronological order, and you could exchange information with other people who are in the same predicament as you. Now, without the algorithmic timeline, this has sort of become a bit of a problem because the information flow is interrupted. All right. Second, we build a single source of truth. So if you're following officially the government servers, right, you know that it's a single source of truth, but it can be also other entities that hopefully will take this lead and join in. Right? Have and foster informed citizenry and transparency, because again, when there's a lot of fake news going around, this becomes a problem for the informed citizenry. So, for example, we see often with the handout schemes, right? You can get this handout schemes, but you have to go to this website and you have to submit your ID card and phone number before you can get your 10,000 baht, right? But that website turns out to be a scammer website where you submit it. So there's a lot of fake news, like, well, not so much fake news, but phishing attempts, right? So one person says you have to go to this website and submit this information. Another person says you have to go to another website and submit that information. So which is real? And this causes a lot of confusion. And then after a while, the scheme may not be bad, but because of all the people who are trying to scam people out of their hard-earned cash, it becomes a problem. And then the schemes collapse, right? And again, I am hoping that this will, in the very least, induce more Fediverse use. So if you're not on the Fediverse if you come on the Fediverse, in the very least, to get updated on policy, on news, and to have a discussion around it, that may be an excuse to stay around and perhaps follow each other and have more conversation. One hopes. Okay. I did not put in a closing slide. But that is it. And again, this is ideally, well, this is the process that I'm using in order to communicate the advantages of Fediverse to government agency. I have not gotten any response yet, but of course I can keep trying. As my friend Palm says, that's all we can do. Right? One day we will hopefully succeed, but in the very least, if anyone else here has any ideas and inspirations, and if they would like to take some of what I've mentioned and take it back to their respective governments and talk to them about it, maybe it will loop around and come back to Thailand maybe in the next 10 years or so.
In the fullness of time.
Yes.
I have various comments about how Singapore is dealing with this, but man, that's a sensitive receiver. Firstly, questions from anyone else in the audience?
Yes, questions.
Comments? Okay, we've got two.
Thanks for the presentation, and I think I agree with everything you say, and I've worked with governments in the region, and this issue of the truth and a credible public square is important. But my question is, how do you drive engagement on Fediverse-related platforms? Because, the existing social media platforms where people get their news, you mentioned the issues with algorithmic feeds, they're maximized for engagement. And yeah, how do you incentivize, or how might a government incentivize people to get their information from the Fediverse? Because I think normally when people look for a particular piece of information or a policy or a scheme, they would go direct to the website rather than using social media. So how do you build a platform that actually engages people but also has the truth embedded in it?
Right. So I think that the problem is where you say that people will go to the websites, right? They don't go to the websites, number one. They don't go to the websites. Two, the website actually does not contain anything useful, right? As I said, much of it is ribbon cutting, and much of it was ribbons cut 5 years ago, right? The websites are neglected because many of the people who handle public relations for government services say, why do we maintain a website? We can just go post stuff on Facebook or Instagram or X or whatever, right? How do I go back? There's no back button. So let's see the anti-fake news, right? So we have the antifakenewscenter.com, and who is going to type that, right? Then we have Anti-Fake News Center Thailand, Anti-Fake News Center, Anti-Fake News AFNC_Thailand, and then AFNC Thailand, right? Different identities across the board, right? And it gets it gets confusing. I mean, if you don't see this, and presuming that this is not fake to begin with, right? Yeah, it's very, very unlikely that you're going to go for the first option. You're going to load up your whatever app, and then you're probably going to type in AFNC Thailand because that's the shortest one. Right.
Before I go any further, Yan, are you in the room? Can you please talk to these gentlemen about your presentation? Okay.
Sorry, did I answer your question? Yeah. But yeah, sorry, there was a second component, the engagement. I think that this is not so much a question of engagement initially. I think that it's just a matter of where can we go for official news, right? And like a truly trusted and verifiable source, similar to websites. We take websites for granted, but I think that we also need a Fediverse version where we can actually follow streaming updates in a whole bunch of different types of interfaces. Thank you.
Yeah, so first a comment. I know about FOSSASIA thanks to Mastodon.
Yay.
Yeah, that worked. Secondly, I was wondering, did you talk to the Dutch government, the Amsterdam government?
No, okay. No, I have not.
Okay, I was wondering, because I am from the Netherlands, and
yeah.
I was surprised to see it on the screen. Did you, I was wondering, how did you find it? Like, how did you know that they are also...
I think that there was I think I came across a blog post that featured a few government entities using the Fediverse. So these are the ones that have survived, and there are several that did not, right? There was an experiment, and the funding was discontinued. Yeah.
Thanks.
Singapore has, of course, thought long and hard about this sort of problem. I don't like our odds of getting a Fediverse instance up, but certainly all government websites are under gov.sg.
Yes.
I just don't put them anywhere else. And then in parallel, they've done two things. One, the link shortener that's widely used has an interstitial page.
Yes.
Which says, look up there. Does it say gov.sg? Now, obviously one that's lying isn't going to do that, but the point has been to train people to look. And then in parallel, SMSs in particular, which are used for all kinds of things, but also the Telegram channel and the WhatsApp channel that are used for government, there's one, and it is gov.sg. And the message is, if you get something on Telegram or WhatsApp that purports to be from Singapore government, it is not from gov.sg, then it is fake. Report it, don't pay any attention to it. Even in Singapore, that took some time to establish. But it's, I think part of the answer to your question is it's got to be an all-channel mechanism. The citizenry has to know that if it's not go.th, then it isn't Thai government, no matter what you think is going on. Until that, you've got that commitment for whole of government, for every single channel, web, mobile, the lot, then it's a bit of an uphill battle to fix it. Quite apart from the Fediverse question, although best of luck, because that would be excellent.
Thank you, thank you. So I think that we're trying to work on it, but without getting any unintended side effects, which we fear could happen as well.
AV guys, we can have the next slides, please. I've got time for one more.
So I'm a big Mastodon user as well, and I think it's a fantastic platform. But I was going to say, I guess from your suggestions, there is an intermediate solution, which is down to open protocols like ActivityPub. I think Meta has started talking, or I don't know what the status of that is, but there's some talk about ActivityPub. Blue Sky, of course, is doing its own thing. Do you see a world where you could have these sort of authoritative sources in the Fediverse that consumers can access via existing platforms?
It is the natural solution, right? And again, I brought up the sovereignty argument pretty often. And I think that from the government perspective, that is a very, very strong argument because, well, they're serious about that kind of thing, right? But yet again, there is that, and then there's the culture of can we be bothered, or are we, invested enough to try to figure this out and come up with some sort of a cohesive policy around it, and also compiled with the risk of badly screwing it up coming out with a Frankenstein version. I mean, for example, I can completely see this going in as a ministerial proposal and coming out at the other end as having a forced install application on all mobile platforms.
Which has some-
Built on the Fediverse, but
what
yes, what could possibly go wrong? So there's a fair bit of debate happening about this as to how to communicate it, and maybe we should keep the scammers over the official app installation, with maybe an even bigger nightmare.
it's a process.
It's a process.
Not
It's
a
a process.
destination.
It's a process. It's a process.
Thank you, Mishari.
Thank you.